He's mobilized the world's leading emitters to help poor countries deal with the impacts of climate change. They called it the G7, the Build Back Biden, Build Back Better. And we realized that got confusing. So now we don't call it that. What we call it is, here's the bottom line. Look, we're the ones that caused the problem. The United States.
Yeah, so if the weather is not nice today, blame the United States of America, says the President of the United States. Ah, yes. See, there's this saying that I've heard. Where did I hear this saying? They're not on our side. Oh, yeah, that's one of my sayings. I got Barack Obama today. He's not on our side either. We knew that. He did everything he could to racially polarize the country. It's the one thing he was fairly successful with. He's not on our side. And he launched I think it was a racist attack, wasn't it? On, you know, they got an African-American running as a Republican for the presidency, Senator Tim Scott. And so naturally, it's the pattern that I've pointed out many times because it's true. The Democrats always have, when they're going to go after the black guy, you got to have the black guy come out and go after the black guy. Otherwise, it would appear racist. They can't have a white guy come out and go after Tim Scott. So they had Barack Obama come out and go after Tim Scott. When you got a woman they want to massacre, they want to throw into the destructo machine, you got to have a woman come out and launch the attack, because otherwise it would be misogyny, as any school child knows. The Democrat Party. And that's just scratching the surface on, I had to stop and do a little sneeze thing there. Hang on. You got a button here when you're going to sneeze. You push the button so you don't have a big sneeze and break your speakers. But we've got a lot of Democrat craziness today. We've got transgenderism and LGBTQ because the Democrats are still out of the cage. And some really remarkable developments. Yesterday I spoke to you. I shared with you a story out of Burlington, Massachusetts. Not Burlington, Vermont, but Massachusetts has their own Burlington. And there they have schools. And they've got a middle school there. It's grades 6, 7, and 8. And they were indoctrinating the children to the LGBTQ plus way of life in the schools. And it's a political, sexual indoctrination for how old are kids in 6th grade? 10 years old? 11. Maybe 11 years old. So let's say 10, 11, 12-year-old kids. And the Democrat Party is, they're indoctrinating and they're overwhelming the children with their political and sexual agenda. This is the thing. This used to be frowned upon until just a couple of years ago, but now the Democrat Party has made it normal. Normal. I'm making quotation marks with my fingers. The Democrat Party, they're making the abnormal normal while simultaneously making the normal abnormal. That's something I've been talking about for 15 years, isn't it, Michael? The Democrat Party's long-term plan. And boy, I didn't realize how quickly they were going to get to all this, but they've gotten to it very quickly. In any event, the children at the school have staged something of an insurrection. Can you say insurrection in this context? The children have said, no, I'm a child. Leave me alone. And the Democrats want to punish them. And yesterday we played the spanking audio from Monty Python and the Holy Grail because they now need to punish the children. The children have staged an insurrection. They showed up in red, white, and blue, the colors of the American flag, instead of the rainbow colors, which is those are the colors of the Democrat Party. And then the children, they should have a separate flag for children, shouldn't they? Because really, you guys, get away from the children. Can you? Will you? I know they won't, but I'm going to keep asking anyway. So the kids, they've rebelled. They're like the Wolverines in Red Dawn. They're going to have to take to the mountains with vests and rifles to defend themselves against the Democrat Party's adults that are brainwashing them, indoctrinating them politically and sexually with their LGBTQ mandatory education. And you know how you get extra points here? You got to stay after school, and I'll explain the rest later. But honestly, speaking of which, you see the Democrat college professor from Pennsylvania. He's been arrested for taking his collie which is a dog, out into the forest and having sex on more than one occasion, right, with his collie. He's a college professor in Pennsylvania, and he's been caught now, and you'll never guess what he said when he was caught by the police. It's kind of an interesting, sad story. The collie has a very strange look on his face. It's Democrats are getting weirder and weirder. Also in Hamtramck, Michigan, Hamtramck, outside of Detroit, there is the town of Hamtramck, the city of Hamtramck, and it has a very large, very significant Muslim population, mostly immigrants from Middle Eastern countries and other Muslim-dominant countries. And so the city council in Hamtramck, Michigan, is all Muslim. Every member of the city council is Muslim. They practice the Islamic faith. And they took a vote in Hamtramck, Michigan, and they voted to disallow the display of rainbow flags, transgender flags, and other LGBTQ plus equal sign flags in all city buildings. And I believe that means that includes the schools too, right? But the teachers are no doubt going to object because, now it turns out in most schools in America, you can actually get a degree in buggery. Did you know that? You can get a degree in buggery. That was not an option when I was going to school. You couldn't get a degree in buggery. But now you can get a degree in buggery because the Democrat Party wants to have more buggerers out there. And so Hamtramck, Michigan, you may remember we talked about it a couple of weeks ago in Montgomery County, Maryland, left-wing sanctuary county radicals, a multi-million-dollar home left-wing radicals. They're Gulfstream Guevaras, and they had in the schools they were giving the buggery agenda. They were doling it out to the children in the Montgomery County schools, left-wing people everywhere, and the teachers' unions and the Biden administration, and they love buggery and children. They're putting buggery and children together again, and it's amazing. But they had an opt-out. You could sign a form if you're a parent, and you could opt your child out of the LGBTQ indoctrination in the schools. This is why you take over the schools, because you're a pedophile. But they call them minor attracted persons, MAPS. That's what they call child rapists now in the Democrat Party and in many school systems, too, because there's something terribly wrong in America. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Something is definitely rotten in the United States of America. And it's called the Democrat Party, and their sexual deviancy is on display for everyone to see. But in Montgomery County, the left-wingers running the school board and not educating the children, except in buggery, they said, well, I'm sorry, this opt-out, too many people are opting out. Too many parents are opting out of the LGBTQ indoctrination. So they said, no more opt-out. And it was a Muslim parents group, who I support entirely. In this instance, the Muslim parents group came to the school board and said, I'm sorry, we want the opt-out restored. And then, very quickly, a Christian parents group came in with the Muslim parents group, because only the left, leave it to the left, they brought together Christian and Muslim in the United States of America to fight for a common cause, because the left is so insane, completely insane. So it was Montgomery County, Maryland, where we saw that a couple of weeks ago. Now, Hamtramck, Michigan, the all-Muslim city council has banned the display of rainbow flags and transgender flags in or on city properties. Right? And, wait, there's more. In Orange County, California, the Orange County Council also voted, and nobody paid any attention. It was, I think, a couple of weeks ago now, at least a week ago, where the Orange County, it tends to lean more conservative in Orange County, at least historically, California, than the rest of California. And they voted no rainbow, no gay flags on the county buildings. And I assume that means schools as well. But, the teachers are going to try to, slip it to you when you're not looking, so to speak, and literally. So it's not just metaphorical. So we got that going for us. And the kids, I've got an update for you on yesterday's story that I shared with you about Burlington, Massachusetts, and the kids revolting there. Your Majesty, the people are revolting. You're telling me they stink on ice. And the lefties, of course, are going bat guano crazy about this because they're after the children with the rainbows and the transgender and the gender dysphoria. And then there's this, we have audio for you we're going to share from the local news stations up there in Massachusetts. And the parents and the school people, you know, we call them officials now, don't we? Because we're becoming East Germany. And so they're school officials. Yeah. And they click their heels, and it's crazy. And they're saying, well, my son or daughter or whatever my child is now has been thinking about suicide since my son or daughter was, how old, Michael? Like, 9 years old or 8 years old or something? Said that happened years before reaching middle school. The gender dysphoric child was already contemplating suicide. Your child needs a lot of help, and it sounds like you're not really there for your child. But we'll get into all that. So that's just scratching the surface on all those stories. And the Democrat Party is making all of this happen. And I've got to say, we're seeing signs, and I'm with the all-Muslim city council in Hamtramck, Michigan. In Orange County, California, I don't think there are any Muslims on the city council there, and they're banning it too. Because the Democrats, and the phrase we keep hearing in Massachusetts too, is they keep jamming it down everybody's throat. This is the thing. And that's the turn of phrase that is most commonly applied in this conversation, interestingly, but never mind that. Also, Joe Biden was asked an actual question by an actual reporter yesterday, I believe from the New York Post, and he snapped at him and became angry like Krusty the Clown, like Abe Simpson, Homer Simpson's father, and he became angry because it was the only pertinent question that he's been asked in ages. And the other day he smirked off a question about, hey, what about these recordings and you taking millions of dollars in exchange for policy changes? And he's able to blow it off because the whole White House press corps shows up in bikinis and they give him a tongue bath every day. Yes, that includes the men reporters too. Yeah. So and then Eric Swalwell, we got him. Remember, he had the longtime sexual affair with the Chinese secret agent named Fang, who was here to, promote Eric Swalwell. It's worked really well. The Democrat Party has helped. And he's going around saying there was no dirt on Joe Biden. Says the guy who was having sex with a Chinese spy for years, no problem. And he says Biden is neither sleepy nor is he corrupt. He's not sleepy or is he corrupt. Also, Joe Biden may lose the first two Democratic primaries in Iowa and New Hampshire, which is a lot of fun, but it's because of a tricky thing. Also, RFK Jr., who says he's running for president, says he has to be careful that the CIA doesn't assassinate him like they did his uncle, who was John F. Kennedy. So we got that government. The CIA's reputation is not getting burnished these days either. So we got that going. An amazing poll that most Americans believe that we're turning into a banana republic because the left is here, and they should all listen to this radio show. Everybody should, because this is where it happens. And also a big majority of us say that the charges against President Trump are partisan and hypocritical from yet another poll. And this is important stuff. The American people are waking up. I am afraid we've only awakened a sleeping giant. Meanwhile, the Democrat Party is cross-dressing, I think, because it's Cross-Dress Friday, isn't it? Everywhere you go in America, the Democrats are cross-dressing. It's the way they feel best. We got Chinese hackers all over the place, and the Biden administration, they're on the Chinese payroll, so can't expect them to do much about that. We got another COVID outbreak, but it's just the government. And an update on, the Wuhan Red Death. I shared an update with you yesterday, and I've got more today. Also, Good Morning America, that's ABC News. They've got that George Snuffleupagus, he's the Clinton administration official anchorman, right? And they won't do live shots from downtown San Francisco. We have this for you, too. You want to find out why? Amazing stuff. We are at 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625, and it's Friday. Hey, Chris here with some exciting news. Now you can listen to me live on the WMAL app. Doesn't matter if you're in your car, in the office, on the go. The WMAL app delivers crystal clear around-the-clock news coverage anywhere with cell service or Wi-Fi. So don't miss a second of your favorite shows. Download the WMAL app today on the Apple App Store or at Google Play Store. All right, I obviously have a great many stories to get to today. Got Marco Rubio put together a TV ad, an ad that he wanted to air during the Los Angeles Dodgers game that would be pro-Catholic instead of mocking the transgender nuns. What is it with Democrats and transgender? Are they all transgender? If you're a Democrat, call in and tell me when you all became transgender. Do you all cross-dress at home now? Or are you all Marys? Are you all J. Edgar Hoover and drag? What is going on with the Democrat Party? Because you guys, you're always a bit weird, but it's gotten really weird really fast. You might need new meds, honestly. All right, we're at 888-630-9625. Let's go to Philip, formerly of Arlington. That'd be like I always think of Philip of Aragon. Philip, formerly of Arlington, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Philip.
Given everything we've seen these last 7 years or so, election meddling, impeachment of Trump, Biden family corruption, now the arrest of Trump, and basically the state secret services have been weaponized and state media is supporting, is it time for another peaceful Tea Party type uprising? Farmers, ranchers, truckers, veterans, small business owners going to the streets and making our voice known. Chris, we don't have free and fair elections anymore when you seize and arrest your rival. I think Tucker's got it right. Biden is a wannabe dictator. We need to have peaceful Americans take to the streets and take this country back. That's what I have to say, Chris.
And you're talking about Tucker Carlson, who posted another video where he talks about Joe Biden and what's happening in America. And honestly, it's the stuff of third world dictatorships of beep-hole countries. And I keep saying that this discussion should be had in Tagalog, the native tongue of the Philippines and Filipinos. And Tucker Carlson's video, once again, I'm not sure how many millions of hits it has thus far, but I was being texted about it this morning. And we're looking at the FBI selectively prosecuting the political enemies of the Democratic Party while allowing a free pass to and slow rolling us on the Biden family corruption, on Hillary Clinton, on any Democrat Party corruption, on lying to Congress under oath, the Democrats, about spying on us. New story today about the government spying on us all, too, by the way. The Tea Party was very, very effective. The left cracked down on it. And, we should probably go back and take a look at the role the FBI had in attacking the Tea Party as well. We know they use the IRS, right? Yes. Yeah, the Biden military is trying to transgenderize the military as well. I've got audio for you on that today of a 3-star general who's on the pointy end of the spear on that one. Not exactly the warrior ethos that we're getting from this one. It's a woman, 3-star general, and she's engaged in politics like nobody's business. And, of course, it's the LGBTQIA politics of the Democrat Party in the military and in the schools. And I'll get to that with you. I got Barack Obama for you today because he went and got fluffed by a member of his White House staff, David Axelrod, who used to be a reporter in Chicago, because the revolving door of being a reporter, I'm making quotation marks with my fingers, and a Democrat politico, well, that revolving door doesn't even turn. It's just they're all in really, it's a hot tub. It's not a revolving door. So I've got that for you. And Barack Obama, he racially divided the country because that's what the Democrats like to do. They figure that's good for them. Racial polarization, racial division, and ethnic polarization, balkanization, really, more appropriately. But let's get to and also Joe Biden. I got Eric Swalwell today saying crazy stuff, and also I have Congressman James Comer today talking about how much money the corrupt Biden family has taken in, the Biden organized crime family. And James Comer, chair of the Oversight Committee, says that this week they will be at $10 million. This is, maybe that's just the $5 million. Depends on we're talking about Joe Biden specifically or the whole family. But he says he believes they're going to get to between $20 and $30 million that Biden and his family, his organized crime family, have taken in from foreign interests, between $20 million and $30 million. Right now, we're at about $10 million. I think that might even be a lowball estimate, but we've got that. So lots of stuff. And ABC News, it's too scary to do news in San Francisco. That is coming up. So we got that going for us. All right, now let's go to Burlington, Massachusetts, and the story that I shared with you yesterday, which is about a group of school kids in Burlington, Mass. They are middle school children in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, okay? And they were having forced upon them, the Democrat Party's LGBTQ curriculum, right, in school, because that's what they do. And the students, the children, have objected, and there's been an uprising there. And it's kind of an amazing story, I've got to say. And I want to share with you the local news coverage from up there, because just amazing. Burlington, not Vermont, but Massachusetts, and the students in the school have taken it upon themselves. They've taken matters into their own hands, if you will, not perhaps the way the adults would like. But there's been an insurrection, all right? And the parents come down on both sides. The school comes down entirely on the LGBTQ for 9-year-olds. Now, again, if you were sexualizing 9, 10-year-olds, whatever you are in 6th grade, let's say 10-year-old, and you're being sexualized at school by heterosexual teachers and school administrators, I think they'd be in handcuffs. I honestly think that they'd be in handcuffs. The headlines out of Boston: not a one-off. Community speaks out at school committee hearing after the Burlington Pride incident. It's being called the Burlington Pride incident. The BPI. It will probably be the BPI by the close of business today. Staffing failures called out after middle schoolers deface pride signs. The pride signs have been defaced, and now the children must be punished. And LGBTQ Nation online: community shocked as students destroy school's pride celebration, chanting, "USA are my pronouns." USA are my pronouns is what the kids are chanting, and they showed up in red, white, and blue instead of in rainbow, even though they were told to show up in rainbow. Now, again, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. Any parents out there? Any 8th graders out there? The indoctrination will continue until what? So Burlington community calls for action after middle school students disrupt pride event. Why are middle school students being dragged into gay pride events? Let's call them what they are. They're not pride events. They're gay pride events. That's what they are. They're not some generic pride thing. It's gay and LGBTQ event for 6th graders, okay, 7th graders, and 8th graders. I thought that was, it was kind of illegal to introduce, indoctrinate children, little children, prepubescent children, to any kind of sexual regime. Am I wrong about that? Well, obviously I'm wrong about that. Burlington middle school students reportedly tore down pride banners, chanted "USA are my pronouns," and glared down students and teachers supporting pride. Boston.com has the story. Now let's go to the television people. So here is parents talking to a school board upset about Burlington displays of intolerance and homophobia. You know, I mean, I'm intolerant of you sexualizing children. Either way, but it's only one way, you'll notice. There is no heterosexual regime of sexualizing children in schools because everybody's known in Western civilization for 1,000 years that would be entirely inappropriate. And in fact, it is mostly illegal. And you go to prison for such things. Like the Democrat mayor of College Park, who's a close friend of Pete Buttigieg and visited the Biden White House repeatedly until he was arrested for his scores and scores of federal charges of distributing gay child porn because that's illegal. But here it is. So here, parents talking to the school board, Burlington, Massachusetts.
These displays of intolerance and homophobia are unacceptable.
This type of intolerant rhetoric starts in the home.
It's unacceptable, this intolerant rhetoric. What about the kids? Can you leave the kids alone? Can we? Not a one-off. Community speaks out at school committee meeting after Burlington Pride incident. Burlington school leaders were urged to hire a new diversity, equity, and inclusion director. After that's the solution. This is Chairman Mao on LSD. After middle school students disrupted a pride celebration earlier this month, this is pretty amazing stuff. Burlington school officials, you Aussie officials, reiterated their support for the LGBTQ community. That's not what this is about. It's about the children. All right? Tuesday night in one of their first meetings after the students disrupted a middle school pride event, tearing down decorations and chanting USA. You notice they have the same thing in news story after news story. So here it is, parents showing up to let their voices be heard.
It would be naive of us to think that what happened at the middle school won't escalate into something more tragic in the future.
The acceptance and visibility of LGBTQIA people is not being shoved down your throats, it's being normalized, finally, and thank goodness.
LGBTQ is being normalized. So escalate into something more tragic, meaning that what happened was tragic, but they're terrified that it would escalate into something that would be even more tragic. Someone might tear down 2 posters, and that would be... But the regime of buggery for the 6th graders will continue, and honestly escalate into something more. And it's, the LGBTQ is being normalized for 6th graders, and that is a good thing. Thank goodness. Again, it's the children. It's the children. Can you just let the children grow up and maybe decide for themselves rather than you guys massaging the situation with government lubricants? CBS News reporter in Boston, Sean Chiabat, talks about the Burlington mother, Christine Steiner, whose daughter happens to be, a young girl, but heterosexual thus far.
Some of the kids threw the stickers on the ground. But, I can only speak for my daughter. She didn't want to wear that to school. It's not that she wanted to hurt anybody's feelings.
She says her daughter felt coerced to participate in the Pride event and was offended by some of the messages, like this quote from Tennessee Williams.
Human heart cannot be straight. It is curves and winds. And my daughter just kind of said, Mom, that's offensive to me, who I am straight.
Now, taking Tennessee Williams, who worked in some, old-fashioned Southern kink here and there in his writings, they're introducing this to the kids in the context of Gay Pride Month, talking about straight lines, not straight. And is that what Tennessee Williams is talking about? It doesn't really matter because what they're using it for, the way they're applying it here with the children. And last night on my Newsmax show, the liberal on the show, Justin Nichols. So, well, if you want to ban Tennessee Williams, well, that's not the discussion that's being had by any stretch of the imagination. But liberals always take it and torture it out of shape and turn it into something that it's not. Otherwise, you can't win a discussion or a debate about any of this stuff. Christine Steiner, the mother.
My thing that I teach my kids is just be kind, and I wish the schools would just kind of pump the brakes on what they're shoving down these kids' throats.
There's that turn of phrase again that keeps coming back, doesn't it? Yeah, so we're going to teach you Tennessee Williams and the flowery language, and lines aren't always straight, and it's, remember, wink, wink, it's Pride Month, and the opposite of straight is, and here are the lines, and Tennessee Williams said so. So, and now, kids, let's go out into the playground. We're all going to play Duck, Duck, Goose, which is not the game it used to be. Don't let the kids play Duck, Duck, Goose anymore, please, for God's sake. So NBC, the NBC station, has a reporter up there named Kirsten Glavin. And Kirsten Glavin was talking to Mia Olstrom, whose son, she says, is LGBTQIA, and that it's a son, but he uses they, them pronouns because the teachers already got to him.
I asked them if they were okay, and they said, I choose not to give this my attention. And I thought that was really brave and mature of them.
For Armstrong, her son's bravery didn't come without pain. That's why she's now sharing his story and speaking out against recent acts of homophobia in the classroom.
My son was suicidal a few years ago, and when I noticed signs of self-harm, I confronted them, and they came out to us.
They, meaning he, came out to us. I assume that means her and her husband, but it might just be her, because she might be us. And since her son is them and they, it's impossible to say. They've butchered the English language to the point where nobody knows what these people are talking about anymore, which is by design. And I'm sorry, your child is in junior high school and was having suicidal thoughts years ago, like in third grade or something. I think maybe, Child Protective Services should be introduced to the equation here, because whack-a-doodle-doo, okay? So the kids... And, and the news media, that's local media up there covering it. But the Washington Post hasn't covered it. They don't know how to cover this because, it's all about the LGBTQ and the kids. It's about the kids, let's be honest. Now, I mentioned before, Detroit area city bans LGBTQ pride flags on public property. This is a quite interesting story out of Hamtramck, Michigan, where the city council there is all Muslim. Everybody there is Muslim, and the city council. And it's a very big, obviously, Muslim population in Hamtramck. And they voted to ban LGBTQ flags on public property, city buildings, presumably schools and things as well, because this has become a political cause celeb of like nothing we've ever seen before. Also, Orange County, California Board of Supervisors votes to not fly pride flag outside county property. Note it says outside and outside only. Orange County Board of Supervisors has voted against flying the pride flag outside county property. The motion passed by a slim margin of 3-2, with the supervisors divided on this by taking a rash decision of banning the pride flag from all county property and our county parks and facilities undermines the work we've done as a board to ensure Orange County is a fair, inclusive, they love that word inclusive, don't they? And welcoming place to live. How's the crime rate? Work and visit for every member of our community. Now, here's the thing. This is a political movement, and here's what I want to do. I want people all over America and communities big and small to introduce a movement to fly pro-life flags at every public building, every county building, every city building, every state building, every school, pro-life flags. First, we have to develop a pro-life flag, and then have our pro-life flags fly, and then we want to have pro-life month in every school in America. And it's pro-life month all month long. And here's the pro-life curriculum. I'll share the pro-life curriculum with it coming because I don't have one yet, but that's okay. I think it'll be pro-life. And we're going to have and then we're going to have military month, military pride month. Every school in America must sell, and we got to have the flags of all the military services in every school, every government building, flown below the American flag, of course, not like the pride flag, the transgender flag. at the White House. So if you're going to, they've politicized homosexuality, sex, gay sex. They've turned it into a political movement. It has its symbols and its flags and everything else. And they are jamming it down everybody's throats, as everybody keeps saying. And now I think the appropriate response, in order to call a truce here, is to demand, well, listen, you've got a political movement here. And then we're going to have straight Pride Month in every school in America, and straight pride flags at every government building in America. We're at 888-630-9625. Hamtramck City Council, the Mayor Pro Tem Mohammed Hassan quoted Abraham Lincoln about government being by the people, for the people, and of the people, and saying, listen, you guys aren't respecting. Forget about religious views, which they, of course, forgot about a long time ago, regardless of your religious worldview. And I'm amazed that they get away with this stuff. But that's what information dominance is all about. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. I got a lot more to get to, and after the top of the hour, we're going to get to Joe Biden. A lot of Joe Biden stuff, and Congressman James Comey on the corrupt Biden family taking in tens of millions of dollars from foreign interests, and the news media that is just a gang of California fluffers. Let's go to the phones. Running out of time. Let's go to Mike calling from Springfield, Virginia. Michael, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. I love the idea about pro-life curriculum in schools. And I think one thing, a counterweight to the drag story hour, I think you should have porn star story hour, for the hetero kids.
Porn star in schools for kindergarten forward, right?
No, I'm thinking more like middle teens, middle school and up.
I think you're being too reasonable. I think that, they've got the drag queen story hour for, remember in Florida, the law just prohibited this child porn and gay trans stuff for kindergarten through third grade. And that's what they called the Don't Say Gay bill. And Disney, almost pulled out of Florida because they demand that kindergartners get drag queen story hour and transgender education K through 3. That was the only prohibition early on. They since expanded it because the Democrats are so nuts. But that's a fun idea to counter that. And ask all the parents if they want to have porn star story hour for their little kiddies in school.